¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio de Dentro del Cerebro, un podcast de cerebros políticos. Es para mí, para todo el equipo, de verdad que es un placer estar con todos ustedes. Gracias por hacernos parte de su tiempo, de seguirnos en las redes sociales. Por favor, les pedimos que nos sigan en YouTube. Si se van a suscribir, denle también a la campanita para que les llegue el contenido de primera mano. Hoy tenemos una entrevista muy especial y es que será de forma íntegra en inglés. Ustedes podrán disfrutarlo para aquellos que no hablen la lengua con subtítulos, pero en honor a nuestro invitado que nos distingue con su presencia y su tiempo para hablar de temas muy interesantes, de lo que ha ocurrido en la última década en la República Dominicana y su relación con los Estados Unidos. Este es un hombre que nos tendrá mucho que decir. Es el ex embajador de los Estados Unidos de América en la República Dominicana entre los años 2013 y 2017, el señor James Wally Brewster. Thank you so much. Welcome. It's a tremendous pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Cerebros Políticos.
Well, thank you. We're going to be discussing my favorite thing, and that's politics.
Fine.
So yes,
perfect.
Yes. Excellent.
So, 2013, a big year for you, let me say.
It was.
November 2013. Because you were confirmed as ambassador of the United States to the Dominican Republic, but also in your, if you allow me, in your personal life.
That's correct.
That was publicly, you brought your family to the Dominican Republic, and you were so clear about that we are coming to the Dominican Republic to work on the opportunities in the relations between the United States and the Dominican Republic. That brought some criticism, as you know, from some political parties, some persons from the church.
Absolutely.
Society in general. Yeah. Did you ever thought about, you know what, I'm not doing this because I'm going to quit because I'm not going there. I'm not going to waste my time. What were your thoughts when you start reading and hearing about all this criticism?
So, first, I think that's a great opening question. 2013 was a big year. You are correct. I think the most important thing was that we had just come off of the re-election of President Obama, who we had worked very hard to make sure that he had a second term so we could accomplish the things that we thought the United States and did accomplish in the United States. As you may or may not know, we were and have been traveling here for 20 years. We had a home in Wandolio. Moises Alou and Austria Alou and their family were like our familia here. And so we had so many ties to the Dominican Republic. And so we had asked to come here because we had options to go other places in the world. But we asked, when we were asked to be stationed as an ambassador on representing the United States and the American people in President Obama's term, we said we want to go to the Dominican Republic. The question was, are you sure you don't want to go to Europe? And we were like, no, that's our second home, and we really do love the people there and the culture there, and we have family there. And at the time, my father was ill as well. So it was easy to come back to the United States as well to make sure. I just lost my mom. So those were many of the reasons why. When the controversy happened, to be very honest, I did not know it was going to be as significant as it was prior to us arriving. And, you know, it didn't bother me in the respect of bringing my husband with me, and because we had already been together at that point in time, 25 years. So, you know, it was something that, to me, I'm very proud of my life and my Christianity and my faith and all of the things that go along with it. I just found it disheartening. And I think the bigger struggle was that we weren't sure if the government was going to say it was okay for us to come. So when we looked at it, your question was, did you think about going somewhere else?
Yes.
There was a time and period where we weren't sure if we were going to be confirmed by the Dominican government, who has to say yes before you can officially be nominated. And so there was a brief moment when the White House wasn't sure what was happening because we knew the cardinal was challenging the nomination. Publicly and privately, we knew. But President Medina and the former First Lady both immediately after we arrived said they felt it was the right time for the country, and they were always embracing of my husband Bob and I. And of course, we had all of our friends and family that were here supporting us. But I think it's important to know that one of the things I say in a speech is that during that time, of wondering, and feeling like a country doesn't want me, a country that I already loved and had a home in, we saw the trans community actually with signs in a parade saying, "Welcome, Embajador Brewster," well before we were able to have conversations about us coming. And we would have all of our friends, straight and others, saying, "Don't give up, don't give up." And the White House was like, "We are not going to not allow you to go there. You're his guy, and the two of you will represent the United States. And if not, there will not be anybody there," is the indication that we got.
Luckily, it happened.
Luckily, it happened, yes.
How does a successful businessman from Texas end up being a successful ambassador with so open about his convictions and values and principles? Mm-hmm. Of course, we have to mention there your support to the minorities.
Absolutely.
How does this transition from a state so different as Texas goes from a businessman to, be an ambassador and with this so specific and successful agenda?
Well, I think that's an interesting dynamic. I think I have always said, and I do have a great faith, that God has a plan for you, and it's not on your time frame, and it's not what you think it's going to be. So you take advantage of all the things that are out in front of you. I give all of that to my parents, who both my husband's parents and my parents, very similar. We grew up in not wealthy families in small towns in East Texas and eastern Oklahoma, both very conservative states. But our parents happened to be very liberal, even though there wasn't a lot of money there, and they were welcoming to everyone. And they always loved their children, no matter who or which direction they went. And I never questioned that love. But also my faith was given to me where I didn't have to be on the Bible to tell people that my faith is there. It just was something that my parents always embraced in us, to always have that faith. And so it was very easy to be who I am and to be transparent with who I am and be proud of who I am in the way that God created me, and in my relationship. When it came to the business community, I was always transparent in that. I was in an industry that traditionally is very macho, but I never hid who I was because I felt that would not be fair to those around me, and it would not be fair to me mainly. But I also was not someone that was so outward with it that I felt that I had to go out and offend people by it. And I think it is one of those things where you just live your life as who you are. So when we had the opportunity to move to Chicago with my business or my company that I worked for, a large public company, President Obama, obviously we met, and he had the same values as we did. And so we got engaged with his campaign and the Democratic National Committee, big fundraisers, big volunteers and donors, and it just evolved. And so that's how then I was given the opportunity after the after the re-election to be a diplomat. Success, I think that's relative based on who you're talking to. I think some people would say that I'm not a successful person or diplomat based on their opinion. I hope that that's not the majority opinion in the Dominican Republic, but I appreciate you saying it. I think a successful diplomat, we came in supporting not just the minority communities, but really supporting everyone to be equal under the constitutions of our laws. And President Obama, I came to represent the United States and his objectives. And one of his objectives was to make sure that the minority populations were seen, that they were respected, and they were protected under those laws.
Right.
And so that is what your Constitution in the Dominican Republic says, that all Dominican citizens should be protected equally. Same in the United States. So I came with that. So between my faith, my pride of my relationship and my husband and my family, my friends supporting, and the backing of President Obama and the American people, it was easy to have those conversations.
Ambassador, there was a particular episode between yourself and President Medina when you were so open and you made advocacy to fight corruption in the Dominican Republic, when Odebrecht scandal outbreak in the country and worldwide. This was 2016, 2017. And President Medina answered by saying, if here is corruption, there in the States as well. This was a tense moment between yourself as a representative of the government and the Dominican government. What were your thoughts about that tension moment, and how do you manage it to decrease the level of tension and maintain the good relations between the two countries?
No, I think publicly, obviously President Medina had the right and should defend his nation. I had that opportunity to push things that I felt were important to help between the trade of our countries and also the issues that were happening, which I was very adamant about and was the objective of the Obama administration, to fight corruption around the world because it impacts so many things. But we never had those words behind closed doors. And I saw President Medina. I know exactly the interview you're speaking about. I can still visually see where he made that statement. And I do think that we always had a good relationship, even behind closed doors. And a week after that, maybe into a few days after that, he and I were talking behind closed doors, and we spoke about that. And so, yes, anytime that you have two representatives from two nations, especially that are so close in so many ways, but also we're your largest trading partner, and so many people between both nations or in each country, you're going to have those things publicly that you are going to be different on. But I think you can still have the respect behind closed doors and have difference of opinions.
Correct.
It goes back to the question on LGBTQ issues and others. You and I may have different opinions on a religious perspective, but I still need to be able to be protected under the law. And so we were always mainly pushing that with President Medina or any administration, that the objectives are making sure that the laws are there and the anti-corruption laws are there, that people are adhering to them, because we have issues in the United States.
Right.
So I think you're correct, though. But we never had any of those controversies behind. We always were respectful, and I do appreciate that about the Dominicans.
Ambassador, an organized person like yourself, you arrived in November 2013.
That's correct.
I can imagine that you had an agenda like, I want to accomplish, if I have to accomplish something, these are the three things I want to accomplish. When you say goodbye, you say your goodbyes in 2017.
That's correct.
When Trump was sworn in. What were the things that you were most proud of as an ambassador, and what was left there to still to work on? What were the challenges that you felt they were unfinished?
Sure. Well, I think there was many on both sides. I was very proud of the work that our governments did together. We created treaties together that worked. We improved DR-CAFTA movement on trade, and so you saw the economies of both countries increase, and that was a participation. We really made sure that the visa process was better there. We fought for the rights of the minority groups, and I think that was an important aspect. And so I just think, if nothing else, the visibility of my husband and I helped the conversation around the table at home of families and others to ask the question. We're never going to have everyone agree that the way I was born and the way God created me is what they believe in. But hopefully it helped evolve the conversation for those who do live as LGBTQI individuals in the Dominican Republic. And families understand that it is not a choice, that it is how we are and how we were born, just like I have blue eyes, and somebody else may have brown, and that we just want the respect. So I think we made a lot of progress there. We really fought the corruption aspect of it. I think that was important. The majority of my time, honestly, not the majority, but a lot of my time was dealt with the constitutional ruling that happened that affected 300,000 people within this country. And so working with President Medina and administration, we put the regulations around that so that there was a path to some type of identification and recognition. And that was important to me from a human rights perspective, because I don't think any family should wake up one day and not have a country. And at that time, the majority are of Haitian descent. Haiti was not accepting them either. Right. So I think that was work that I was not planning on doing, but I was proud to do that work. And then we worked on pre-clearance and some other things that didn't get across the line. I would have loved to have seen that happen at the time, but I think we got very, very close. But I want to make sure that we also talk about the things like the abuse of women and young girls, which was very important to us. We know that marriage or forced marriages of young girls is something that was a challenge here. And I think we worked with different organizations and others to make sure that we were fighting against that, really pushing, working with both governments to open up shelters for abused women and their children so they could get away from their spouses who were abusing them. We worked on the 911 system to help not just with that, but people who were struggling and having emergency situations. We did not accomplish ending that abuse, and there's still a lot of work to be done. So I think if you asked me, that would be one of the key things that I feel like I still did not accomplish, is helping those that are being abused every day, helping some of the technological aspects of things that are happening where we could progress and help anyone in a poverty situation or anyone in a desperate situation to be able to have access to government help or any help. It doesn't have to be government. It can be NGO help. I think I hate that we did not get that over the line as well.
Ambassador, despite all these accomplishments and the great relations between the government of Medina and Obama, thanks a lot to your work, there were certain episodes that people still remember. Sure. I want to take you back to one of them. The time that you visited a public school with your husband.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Some
in Santiago.
Yes. Some people thought this was beyond the acceptable, that this was a provocation. Mm-hmm. I didn't particularly see it that way, but we got to respect the views of everyone.
Absolutely.
Looking backwards, did you feel that you could have managed that situation differently? It was a mistake. Have you done it? Will you done it differently or the same way?
No, and the reason why I would not have done it differently is one, they were having the school as a mock United Nations, and so part of that is, each one of the groups of students were representing different countries, like a United Nations meeting. I was on with my husband on the dais, speaking as a diplomat and how the United Nations would work. I think that the media took that as an opportunity to try to say being gay is the same as being someone who is going to have an impact, a negative impact on children. I give our children much more credit than that. Give parents much more credit than that. I don't have that influence over someone's child for a 30-minute period. So to ask me to hide or to not go somewhere as you would someone who is straight, I think is one, an offense of who I am. I think that was an offense to the U.S. government to say that I was not as worthy. And I think it was an offense to the school and the students, because if you are scared that your children are going to be exposed to something you may not agree with, then you're going to have to cut them off from the internet, cut them off from everywhere. So I think that I would hope that schools do not look at people differently because of the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, or their religious beliefs, or if they're a man or a woman. And I hope that, being a diplomat, I was able to bring, as well as my husband was able to bring, opportunity to those children. And we still have great memories from that day. I know a lot of students still come up and say they were there that day. So I think, once again, it was an opportunity for a very conservative right movement from the church to be able to gain media coverage. And we watched it a lot. And I think you, as a media person, know there's certain ways to gain audiences. And one of the things we found, especially with some of the really far, and I won't name their names on your broadcast, but we know who they are here, they always wanted me to respond because it gave them an opportunity and a platform to get more media,
Right.
to gain followers. So I think an example to follow up on that was when the school right after that in Santo Domingo, that is the Catholic school, put a big banner that said Embajador Brewster not welcome.
Yes, I remember.
And it was graffitied that night. They put one the next morning up higher. It was also graffitied. They took that down. And then the next day, one went up even higher. So they had them prepared. And at that point, many of the parents pulled their kids out and said, if this is the way my school is going to be, I do not want my children there, supporting the aspect that you're trying to make something that is not true. So we saw our detractors. You know, I see it on the internet every day. You see it even with your show. I don't worry about what people say, but I would not go back and second guess, because I was proud to be representing the United States in that setting. And I was proud to be there with those incredible young children.
After your mission concluded, Trump was sworn in.
Yes.
I was in disbelief, but it is what it is.
So were we.
I really thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, but that's another story.
Exactly.
I want to ask you this. After some time, it was Miss Robin Bernstein,
Yes.
who came as an ambassador of the United States. And afterwards, she left because President Joe Biden was sworn in as president in 2020.
Yes.
How can we explain from a political, also a diplomatic standpoint, how do we explain to the people why we do not have an ambassador through so many years?
Yes.
Because for us, the relation with the United States is so important.
Absolutely.
So it's critical because we have like 1 million Dominicans living there, the relations, the commercial, cultural, you name it. How do we explain that there's been an absence of an ambassador?
Sure. So that is an explanation that is a good question, because there is an explanation. So there was a gentleman that was the longest serving state representative and of African American descent from Georgia that had been named, but he wanted to finish out his term in Georgia as he was so well respected on both sides of the aisle in Georgia. He had been nominated, but not officially nominated to come to President Abinadar to get approval. And so President Biden was waiting for him to finish his term out and then go through the official nomination process. It sat for a while. I'm not sure of his reasons deciding not to come here, but he decided himself to pull his nomination and to go to another country here in the Western Hemisphere. And so when Calvin pulled his nomination, then there had to be a time for another name to come. At that point, then there was another gentleman who was a friend of mine.
Puerto Rico, I think.
That was nominated. And at that point, Ted Cruz and some of the Republicans began to block the nomination. And so they continued to block his nomination for over a year. And so he was waiting for confirmation. We even spoke to him and his wife talking about the residents, and he was excited about coming here. He has friends here. He knows the government. So we were very excited about that opportunity for the Dominican government to have an ambassador in the Biden administration. But once again, you're going to get a ton of comments on there, people saying, oh, they're blaming the Republicans. But it was. I mean, the Republicans were blocking him. They blocked many of our ambassadors trying to come through. So it wasn't that there was any specific issue against the Dominican Republic. It was more of that there was just a series of circumstances that became, at the end, was political. Before, it was a dynamic with a specific individual that I'm not sure the full dynamics. I have some speculation, but I won't speculate on air. So that's why you didn't have an ambassador at the time. But I will say Patricia Aguilar, who is leading the embassy right now, I have been blessed to know diplomats all over the world, both ambassadors and charge d'affaires and DCMs. she is as good as any ambassador, even though it's not her official title, that you will ever have.
She's like the acting ambassador?
She's the chargé d'affaires, yes.
Okay.
And she is truly a career diplomat that is of the highest esteem. So I think
we're in good hands?
You're in amazing hands, yes, yes.
You know, USAID, this program that helped millions of people around the world, was suddenly attacked by certain groups of people because some of the programs that founded they didn't support the vision of that program, so they ended up putting in the same bag all the programs,
yes.
Despite the help that it's bring throughout the entire world, including the Dominican Republic. The ending of USAID, were you sad about it, disappointed? Do you feel in the future it might come as a new program? We'll have to restore it somehow?
Sure. The answer is yes. We're going to have to restore it. And I think, we will begin to see that when the Trump administration is gone, because the objective of the Democrats, but hopefully who the United States still is, just not represented by the administration, is one who uses not just our money, but our heart to help those that are the most challenging, to help those infrastructure issues that are some of the most challenging in our allied countries. And even in the countries where we may not have the greatest relationship, we try to be that beacon of light for those areas. And USAID was created to be that development organization for those to help progress things where people could become self-sufficient and or help those in the most needs. So I think in the Dominican Republic, as you have seen, there were houses being built for the women that were being abused, and that was some of the funding and support was there.
Yes.
That is no longer going to be there. There was, help with, women's health and women's issues that no longer will be there. And of course, on HIV and AIDS support and the distribution of condoms, not just for LGBTQI, it was for all communities, including the poor communities, because
young people.
They had done a lot, and young people to understand, and many people that didn't have access to good quality care and reproductive health. And then you go to Santiago, where I was able to visit a home that had been supported by USAID, one of the most amazing places that I've been, and the children who are homeless that are on the streets at night, they had a place to come and get food and to play basketball and to get shoes and to get clothes and to feel like they were part of a family, that somebody cared about them. At night, they would go back on the street because that is ultimately the way that this was set up. But
yes.
Now that is no longer available to them. So for the people who listen to the narrative of how horrible this organization was and it was corrupt and all these things that were said that were not true, I think it's unfortunate, because what they don't realize is that the money no longer is there to support all the countries around the world. And you're going to see a rise in all of the challenges that, not just the marginalized, but the entire country will now have to figure out new ways to fund those type of programs. One of the most successful things here was the creation with the community that has special needs. Mm-hmm. There was never access for anyone in wheelchairs and that came here that had sight impairment or hearing impairment to be able to have tourism and go to the parks here, go to the public buildings. And so the initiative with the communities here and the NGOs and the government, we were able to create that. So now anyone who has an impairment can easily have a great life here in the Dominican Republic. It still may be more challenging. That is all not going to be supported anymore. So many people have been hurt by it. So I'm sorry for the long answer, but yes.
No.
It is devastating in the respect that people love to listen to the media and to go out there and start saying, yes, it's horrible, But yet they're hurting so many people by that narrative, and it's really sad.
Ambassador, 2010, it was education right before
Yeah.
you got to the Dominican Republic as an ambassador, because you've been long before that, living and sharing with Dominicans. 2017, it was corruption with this worldwide scandal of Odebrecht. And so 2025, people are so worried about the economic perspective through the years to come, because Dominican economy is no longer growing at 5% rate per year. It's making some signs of it's no longer growing at 5, it's growing at 3, 3.5, 2.5, 2. It's a huge theme to be worried about. How do the United States look at this scenario in terms of the relation with the Dominican Republic? Are they worried about making investments in an economy that is no longer growing at this speed like it used to?
So I can't speak, obviously, broadly about the United States, but what I can tell you from knowing the country, having a business where people are looking at investing in the Dominican Republic, that's one of my objectives, and also to grow business here. The one thing that I will say, or a couple of things I will say about that, is that the Dominican Republic has been so successful over the years as pretty much the fastest growing economy in the region.
Right.
For going close to 10 years now.
Yes.
It's like anything in life. You can't continue to be successful every year. And I think we're seeing concerns in the markets because of tariffs, not just in the Dominican Republic, but the global markets itself. So I think you're seeing a slowdown in investments in a lot of areas, not just in the Dominican Republic, around the world, because investors are cautious. They're not sure what's coming next. I think in the last 7 months, we're not sure every day what we're going to wake up to, whether it's a new tariff, whether it is a shift in the markets because the president decided that he was going to do something to help the markets fluctuate, whether it is a rate change or whether it's something that China may do, which can have a huge impact on the markets. So to answer your question directly, I think growth is good. So as long as there's continued growth.
Still good?
Still good. I think growth is good. You don't want to say negative, but I think as long as growth is there, I think, there is continued opportunity. I'm very passionate about the opportunities in the Dominican Republic. I do say, though, that some of the regulations and I shouldn't say regulations, some of the barriers being able to do business from other countries to invest in the Dominican Republic can be refined. And some of the bureaucratic issues that have been there for certain reasons over the years that may no longer be needed really need to be assessed and reviewed, because it can be very cumbersome when the Dominican Republic is a small enough country that it is now a country where you're needing some more large investment. And when they're looking at places around the world where they can invest, why do they want here? And I think you need to make it as easy as possible for people to invest and make sure that all those barriers that are challenging right now, including me even sometimes having challenges opening up as little as a bank account or to bid a contract here, I think those are the things that we want to continue to work with the government on and make it easy. And I know that is an objective of the government as well. But there's also many other opportunities in the Dominican Republic that haven't even been explored. And I spoke to Minister Bissono about that yesterday.
My good friend, Ito Bissono.
Yes.
In 2017, you say goodbye officially as an ambassador.
Yes.
8 years have passed. Many of us thought that you were coming back in the Biden years.
Yes.
It didn't happen, sadly. Have you said goodbye to any other chance to be an ambassador? Not the Dominican Republic. I'm speaking, America, Europe, Asia.
Sure.
What are you open to the option?
I never know what the future for my life is going to look like, but I will tell you that I chose to come here as ambassador. I gave up my corporate career, and it wasn't a hard decision to make when the President of the United States asks you to serve on behalf.
You don't say no to the President.
You don't say no to the President, but also because I got to come to the country that I love.
Yes.
So I don't think that I don't think that I could recreate that experience. My husband and I spoke about it in the Biden administration, not coming back here, because that is something that Democrats don't believe that you should recreate, because they call it nativism, where you become to care more about the country than you might the United States. Okay. And so that's why you see people in the embassy evolve every 3 to 4 years.
Right.
But from that perspective, we talked about maybe in the Biden administration, but we can't recreate an experience, just like most of the time we can't recreate it in life. And
you can't repeat the past.
You can't repeat the past. And also we had such a dynamic, I will say positive experience. A lot of people will say challenging, but I didn't see it as a challenge. I saw it as a platform, an opportunity, and hopefully made some good changes, made some people think, also did some good. And I know not everybody will agree with that, but I think my life has evolved into having the best of all worlds. I'm getting much older, so to go and recreate that or to try to do it in another country. But I love the work that I'm doing now. We're able to have the flexibility to work with multiple governments, to work with the private sector, to work with investors, to be able to give our influence, but also to give our input and to give our opinions and not be tied by having to worry about what we're saying because of representing a government or offending a government. And so I think it's nice to be able to have still a voice, and I appreciate you giving me that voice as well. A lot of people say, and you'll hear it, I'm sure, but you no longer should be here. You should go away. We don't need to hear from you. I love hearing that because it means that I'm still
you're alive.
I'm still giving them a reason to try to write something online, so I appreciate people giving me that opportunity.
Ambassador, I can't let you go without asking you this. The 2024 election in the United States was a crucial election. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden quit the race right after the debate.
Yes.
And then came Kamala Harris, mm-hmm. his vice president. Looking that in perspective, did you feel Joe Biden left too late? Was the Democratic Party in a trap, to give President Trump a new chance to govern the country?
I do. I think that Vice President Harris didn't have the adequate time to really let the people know her vision and to separate her vision from President Biden's. He's someone who I see as a friend and I have great respect for. I think if it wasn't for the debate performance, I think he would have continued to campaign, and I think you would have saw the Joe Biden that I know that would still be a great president and would be president now. So I think at that point, you asked the question, did he leave too late? I think if he was going to leave, it was too late. Should he have left? I just hate the debate performance gave that indication. We all have bad nights, but that was a really bad night. And so I think we can look back and try to second guess all of it. But the reality is that it's up to the Democrats now to see what we did wrong, to see where the American public is and why we did not win, the first Trump presidency when Hillary was running, and why we lost the last time. I think if you look at the electorate, Vice President Harris lost by very few votes, and President Trump in his first term did not get the majority of the votes. And so I think when you see that our country is very split, I think that it's an opportunity for the Democrats, for us to continue to govern in a way that we focus on the things that we didn't see and the voices that we didn't hear. And I think we got in our own bubble. And I think that's the scary part of any election. And that's what I tell candidates around the world that are looking at higher offices is don't let the people around you tell you how great you are. And let the voices around you tell you that no way you can be beat, because you need to be listening to those who don't agree with you, and make sure that you're hearing everyone, and you're listening and you're evolving. That's what I loved about President Obama. He was constantly being transparent, and he would be honest when he was evolving on issues, because of the influence and the conversations he was having, not with just his daughters, but his wife and all of his friends and people around him and people who were his opponents. So I think that is the long answer to your question about did President Biden leave too late? I think, in my opinion, yes, I wish it would have been earlier. But also we made some mistakes. There never should have been a debate. So
yes, of course.
I think tactically, if you look at it, but we are who we are. I think the Democrats, we are being very adamant that we will continue to lead. I expect in the next year and a half, we will have control of Congress. I think we are going to see a craziness happen over the next 3 years, and it's going to be a world that is not going to look at all like it does right now. In 1 year, 2 years, and even in 3, our elections are going to be crazy. But I do feel that democracy is strong in the United States, and I hope that other politicians and governments don't take the way that this current administration in the United States has led and think that that is the new way of leadership, because it offends so many people. It gets rid of your allies' trust and support, like here in the DR, where you can no longer trust that DR-CAFTA is an agreement that you can be part of. And it gives all of the people who are scared around the world to feel like that they have to be scared again and they're being bullied and that they don't have value. And we should never be a government that ever allows that to be the case.
Finally, Ambassador, are you confident enough that the Democratic Party learned their lessons from the 2024 election? Will they take back the White House?
So the answer is yes. I feel that we're going to take back the White House. Have we learned our lesson yet? I'm not sure. I think that we know that we have to do something different. I think we need to keep our values so we don't lower ourselves to the current administration and begin to act like bullies and be negative. I think that from that perspective we do, and we will. I do think we will win the midterm elections, because I see that people are saying, I didn't know he was going to do that to my family. Oh, I voted for him, but I didn't know this was going to happen. Well, I think a lot of bad things are happening to a lot of people that supported him, and I would question anybody to give facts on what has been done good in his administration that has positively impacted that person that is supporting him. So that would be my first question. If anybody in the Dominican Republic or the U.S. says, I support President Trump, I would say, tell me something he's done really good that has been positive for you. Because I can promise you, you can tell them some things that have not been so positive for them and their country. That said, I think that we have to learn. The challenge the Democratic Party has is that we're a party that has a big tent. And we have those who have struggled as individual groups throughout our history. And they all have found their voices through our party. And now there's so many different opinions on how the party should be. We don't follow one person like the Republican Party is doing right now. And so we have different communities, whether it is different minority communities, or it's different ethnic communities, or it's the Dominican American community, or it's the Latin community, or it's the LGBTQI community, or it's the Black community, or it's the Asian community. I mean, we can go through, or it's the Jewish community, and we're that big tent. And so for us to coalesce is going to be our challenge, because there's some people that believe that we should be against Israel because of Palestine. But then we don't want to blanket that Israel is that Netanyahu is a representative of all of the people of Israel,
right,
and the Jewish community, because there's not a black or white there,
right.
And so I think young people have a different opinion than the people of my age. So we have to figure that out.
It should be very interesting.
It's going to be interesting. Yes, absolutely.
I want to thank you for your time. I hope it was comprehensive. And thank you immensely for your time and your presence here.
Well, I'm always happy to come back.
Welcome once again to the Dominican Republic.
Thank you very much.
Y para ustedes, espero que haya sido un placer y que hayan disfrutado tanto como yo esta conversación. Muchísimas gracias y nos vemos en una próxima oportunidad.